Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Give you a little update, show you what I've been working on here today. So I've been working on breaking down more of the final drives. I gave them a little more scraping and cleaning. And then I just removed the right side final drive pinion. Luckily I had a big 2¼ inch wrench that came with that estate stuff that I recently showed you, because I didn't have a wrench that big otherwise handy. So cotter pin, big nut, it's a tapered shaft, so I put the puller on and then that gear came off pretty darn easy. And then we got some type of a spacer ring here with a thin washer on the back side, and that was all inside of the housing like so, just for future reference on how this all came apart rather, how it will go together. I looked in the parts manual. This appears to be a straight shaft on the belt pulley, so I'm going to table that removal until I get some better tooling. I don't want to risk breaking that, but I could see that these were tapered, so I knew those would pop off pretty easily. So now I can take off this final drive plate here, and basically this side will be done. Then I'll probably move on and we'll go work on the left side of the tractor. Okay, backing plate is off. Because those are off, it also loosens up these, I don't know what the right terminology is, secondary plates that hold the bearing in place, at least on the pinion axle here. Not sure exactly what this one does, because there's no bearing behind that one. At least it doesn't look like it yet. For reference, this beveled edge on this plate is forward. I don't know if it'll fit both ways. I haven't investigated farther yet, but there's a thin washer, a thicker washer, and then your Hyatt roller bearing with a paper gasket in between that and the main housing. Just on initial inspection, I started pulling that pinion axle a little bit, and that bearing so far looks beautiful, so hopefully that's a good sign. I think I'm going to pull it out here now and probably put it up on the workbench, and we'll see what we got. Okay, yeah, that came out just as expected. That race looks really good. Just like I thought, that bolt holds that race in place. Quick look at the pinion axle here. Of course, we'll get into this farther on down the line. We'll have to clean it all up, take it all apart, check everything, and eventually we'll put it all back together, check all the tolerances, make sure everything is within specs. But for now, on initial inspection, things are looking really good. Now we'll repeat for the left-hand side of the tractor. Okay, left side backing plate is off and pinion axle is out. Same story as the other side. Everything looks really good on initial inspection. No obvious carnage. So I'm just laying it all on the bench. Right side stuff, left side stuff, so we can keep it all sorted out. Looks like, so on this side, when I pulled this axle cap off, the little plate, backing plate came with it. So that holds, there's another Hyatt bearing there. So what I saw on the other side, this is actually that thick plate, so that'll come out too. So I think, I'm not sure what keeps the axle located, or if it's just the wheels side to side. So in theory, this whole axle, I think, will come out now. And because of the size of the shop, I guess we got to go that way with it, because that's the only spot we have enough clearance. Not enough room to the wall on this side. Problems of working in a one-stall garage, I guess. So maybe we'll see if I can get that out of here, or at least investigate it a little bit more. And then we'll probably go have a little dinner and come back out and see what else we can get done tonight. There, goal achieved. I wrestled that axle out of the rear housing. Got the big height roller bearings out as well. Got them in their respective left and right bins. First sign of significant wear, where those inner bearings are, where they ride on the axle, you can see they're very worn into the axle. I know Matt Scott has told me that that's kind of a common thing on tractors that specifically sat and ran belt pulley, because instead of turning, actually driving the tractor, that axle is just sitting there vibrating on those bearings instead. So I'm assuming maybe that's what caused that, because otherwise there's nothing to stop that axle from spinning when you're actually driving the tractor. It just floats in that housing. I'm not exactly sure why they even did that, to be honest with you, why it was floating. There must be a reason for that. But anyway, so that's our first thing that we're going to have to put on our list of someday getting fixed, because as it is, that's no good. So whether or not we can have that, say, welded up and turned down, or if we're looking at having to make a new shaft, I don't know at this point. But we'll have to do something about that. It's not acceptable the way it is. Everything is so filthy, I can't really tell much else, but there again, I don't see any major catastrophes in the inside of the housing or anything. Just a icky, greasy mess on everything. But that's better than being dry and full of water and rusty. Greasy is better every day of the week than rusty. It's a lot easier to clean grease because it protects everything. So yeah, hopefully underneath all that gunk is a bunch of good. We'll just keep picking away at it. It's going to be a long winter yet, so we got lots of time to tear this apart. But I'm happy so far with how progress has been coming. We'll get something to eat, and maybe we'll come back out and take some more stuff apart. Yeah, happy Friday, everybody. I got sidetracked. I started working on seeing if I could get some of the jugs off the head here. After a lot of struggling and a lot of inappropriate tools used, crowbars and pry bars and cold chisels, and beating on things that I really shouldn't have been, but I gently, we got the head off of that one side of the jug. So let me get it up on the bench or whatever, and I'll show you what we got. Okay, here's a look at the ugly. I mean, I guess that isn't actually that terrible. But the jugs, so number 3 is full of mouse nest, and number 4 is completely full of rust and scale. Not pretty at all. Let's get the vacuum out and clean out all the gunk and see what things look like underneath the mouse nest and rust. Good news is I got all the valves on number 3 and 4 freed up and that last spring taken off. Of course, they're all probably junk anyway, but at least they're free. The bad news is these jugs are ugly. Lots of corrosion. So that's not very good news, but what do you do? Wow, that was a battle. Some hours later, I finally got the second jug off. So number 1 cylinder is full of mouse ick again. Number 2 is actually pretty clean considering, but it's not good. It's still rusty and bad, but I had to sacrifice a bunch of the head bolts, which is no big deal because I put new ones into them anyway, because they were just so stuck in there. I got it, a fair bit apart, and it's just I couldn't hardly get it any farther, so I started cutting them off, and now I can take my stud extractor. There's enough sticking out to use that. I got all the studs out of this head previously. So I used my new to me, vintage Craftsman stud extractor that I got at that estate sale recently. This is the best thing ever. I should have gotten one of these years ago. So you put it on the stud, and you take your ratchet, and the tighter you turn, the more that eccentric grabs on that stud, and you can take them right out without having to get, previously I had put, pipe wrench, or if you still have threads, you put the double nut and you put a wrench on that, and it's kind of a pain. So this will make life a lot easier. Like I said, that's the best thing ever. I kind of recently-ish found out about that. I didn't even know this tool existed, but I was watching Squatch on his channel, and he was doing the same thing, removing studs. It's like, oh, that's a cool tool. So then we just happened to be at that estate sale, and I seen this, and I actually knew what it was. It was like, oh yeah, we got to grab that. So yeah, now I'll continue getting this one cleaned up, all the studs removed out of this jug. I can take a big punch and punch the rest of these head bolts back out now. Get these valves out. These ones are free, or free-ish. These ones are still stuck, so I'll have to work on them a little bit. At least now, maybe I'll bring this home at Christmas time, the head, and we'll probably set that up in the milling machine and drill out these studs to remove the manifold, because there's no way I can, work on that. Well, I suppose I could do it here, the drill press or whatever, but good excuse to try out the milling machine, I think. Drill them out at least enough to weaken it to get that off, and then clean everything up. So yeah, should be a fun little project. I'll check back when I got some more stuff here to show you. There, all the studs are removed. Vacuumed it up and got the big chunks off. It's actually a shame that everything is so crusty, because I think this was probably a pretty low hour tractor. There's not even a ridge there at the top of the cylinder. They're smooth. So who knows what kind of wear or whatever is actually in this thing. We won't know until it's all cleaned up and mic it and everything, what size they even are. Something to note, they've been taken apart and marked in the past, so it's punched 4, 3, the other one is 2 and 1, but they got them numbered backwards. So this was actually here, which is the front of the tractor, which is number 1, unless they, maybe there's something I don't know at this point. Maybe they, number, the rear is number 1 on this particular engine, but almost always the front of the engine is number 1. That's how anything I've ever dealt with has been. So just a future note about that when I go to put things back together, how come things are punched wrong. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to continue getting some valves out of here and whatever, and show you what that looks like. All those stupid mice were sure busy. That whole intake, the intake or exhaust? I'm not even sure which that is. That might be exhaust. Yeah, it's exhaust. Exhaust port is full of this. So farmers out there, what am I looking at? What are these? Little blue things. There's been a whole bunch of whatever these are. Leave a comment below. What am I looking at there? Okay, valves are all out. We had one casualty. I broke one valve guide. Getting that was that really stuck valve. Getting that one out of there. Who knows if these guides are even any good anyway, but it is kind of a bummer that one broke. But other than that, it's all stripped down. I'm going to call it a night. It's almost midnight again. Enough fun for one day. We will continue tomorrow. Maybe we'll go back to working on the transmission here some more. Take some more of that apart, since what we're really supposed to be kind of focusing on. But, it's all got to get done. So if I want to bounce around and work on something else, that's just fine too. That's the thing with these kind of projects. You work what you feel like working on. But I kind of wanted to get this broke down because I'll probably bring the jugs back home so we can get the pistons pressed out of them since I don't have a press here yet. And like I said, I'll probably bring this head home as well so we can work on getting the exhaust manifold set up and get that drilled out. Just to kind of get these parts ready so when engine work ever does commence, some of these parts are at least kind of ready to go. Like I said, I'm not going to really focus on the engine this winter. That'll probably be maybe, next winter type of thing. I'm going to kind of just focus on the rear end is the plan. So anyway, yeah, see you guys tomorrow.